I mean, Lars Nootbaar hasn't had the season that a lot of people were thinking he could have, and certainly not up to his career norms. Now, yesterday, he goes 3 for 4 as the left fielder, and so you like seeing that. But
it
for
doesn't
him,
do it enough. Doesn't do it
that's
enough.
what I was just getting ready to say. For him and maybe many others in this lineup, I do want to talk pitching in a moment, but on lineup stuff, is it just about, hey, this last 5-6 weeks, the consistency of these performances? I think the Cardinals want to see that from Lars Nootbaar. You really want to see it from, Burleson, from Herrera even, who's still got the 800 OPS, but has started to dip off. Is that sort of what these next few weeks can be about, is say, hey, it's great to do it once. String it together a few times in a week. String it together for a month to give a little bit of confidence in what this could look like moving forward.
Oh, I agree. And, you include a Nolan Gorman in that category. I mean, there are a lot of guys that you probably need to make a decision on. And if they move on somewhere else and they have a good career, then good for them. But it wasn't because they didn't get a chance. And that's where we're at now. But I guess the other problem is this. It's not like we have a bunch of guys chomping at the bit ready to play that's in the organization. So that's another concern. And so you can try and build from within, but you have to be able to find some other players in other organizations and maybe coach them up. And I think the best example are the Milwaukee Brewers. They only have 5 homegrown guys on their roster. So they've been able to find guys in other organizations, and they found something about them that they felt like they could coach up and develop into something that can be a contributor. Now, when you look, and you're a baseball guy, but for the casual fan, you look at the Brewer lineup and you say, well, who are these guys? I mean, okay, you recognize a couple of guys that, have had pretty good runs in their career, but there are a lot of guys you're scratching your head trying to figure out who are these guys and why are they so consistent?
And you look at where they get them from as well. It's just they always find a way to identify. They're not really overpaying. They're getting what they're looking for. A great example is the Aaron Savali trade, where he says, I don't want to be here if you're not going to start me. And they say, fine, we're going to send you to the White Sox and get a guy who's a rebound player, right? And now he's Andrew Vaughn. He is raking for the Brewers. It's unbelievable what they've been able to do. And Claibs, are they the best team in baseball right now for the way that they are running that organization, or would you look in another direction?
Yeah, I think for what they've invested, I would say yes. They don't have a big payroll, but they obviously know how to coach up people. And, in this batch that they have now, as soon as they come up to that point of arbitration and or free agency, they'll move on, find somebody else. And I think when I look at going back to Josh Hader, you saw Devin Williams. There have been some other players that they've walked away from. And you say, well, they're done now because these guys are really good. Yeah, they are, but they're not as good as they were when they were in Milwaukee. And you have to give them a lot of credit in how they've been able to manage that.
And they're moving guys when they have value, right? It feels like at times with the Cardinals, we look and say, did you wait a year too late with this player where he might have had some value, but you didn't feel it was enough? And then it craters to ground zero. Whereas you mentioned a couple of names. I mean, Devin Williams was moved. Caleb Durbin comes over in that trade. He's currently contributing to Milwaukee. DL Hall was a pitcher they got for Corbin Burns, and he's just a reliever at this point, but he's been a fine reliever. You find guys and are able to extract the value when you can. And that kind of leads to this question that I have. It was said, I believe, on a local radio station, 101 ESPN this week, was said by Buster Olney, talking about Chaim Bloom coming in. And that maybe rival executives would say about him that maybe a knock on him from when he was with Boston was that he would agonize over trades and wouldn't necessarily have a decisive factor at times. And is that something that he could improve upon with the Cardinals? That maybe worries me a little bit, Claibs, because to your point, there's a lot of things that it feels like has to happen this offseason. Not only do you have to decide about the guys on this team, but go out and identify some guys from elsewhere that you can turn this thing around. And it doesn't have to be all homegrown guys, but identification and knowing, hey, if this is a move we can make, can we bring in this guy to help us? And then to be decisive with that. What's your take on that and what we might see?
What I would say to that, I think you have to think about the ownership that he was dealing with, who wanted to do some things differently. And I know I've heard that before where he couldn't pull the trigger. Well, in this situation, he has a whole arsenal. He can do whatever he needs to do in order to make this operation better compared to an owner saying, all right, we're going to gut this thing. We need to move this guy, move that guy. Now, if you want to say, well, he waited too long for this player to make a deal, I think some of the players he got back in the Mookie Betts deal have been phenomenal for what they've been able to do in Boston. And he made some other deals that have certainly bode well for what the Red Sox are doing. So I really look at this opportunity to be quite different with respect to him having more influence on deals. That doesn't mean he's going to go out and sign a guy to a $200 million contract, but I do think he will be in a better position to recognize what this organization needs and how he can get it and be able to grow quicker because he doesn't have someone micromanaging him.
Yeah, I think the influence of ownership is going to be very key in this transition from John Mozeliak to Chaim Bloom, because when we've seen and heard from the DeWitts, they've talked about, there were some things that kind of got away from them as an organization, and now they've started to invest already in some of those things when it comes to infrastructure. And we know that Chaim Bloom with Boston, one of the hallmarks was the farm system that he was able to create, and that's still something that's benefiting them to this day. They really called up a bunch of their top prospects this year. So I think that's an interesting point, Claibs. And do you feel that that's going to be the case where the DeWitts are going to be on the same page and say, hey, we hired this guy for a reason because we believe that he can sort of upgrade and update a lot of the things that we need in our org. And part of it's just going to be to let him do his job and allow for that success to be bred really in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've already indicated that by allowing him to make multiple hires within the minor league system and just the overall developmental phase of the organization. So I really feel like in this case, he's in a different environment completely compared to what he had been characterized to be in when he was in Boston.
Could be very beneficial to see moving forward as Chaim Bloom takes over this coming offseason as the POBO of the St. Louis Cardinals. I want to ask Claibs a few things about the upcoming pitching matchups that the Cardinals will be deploying for this upcoming series in Miami. But first, I want to take a moment to tell you about DraftKings Pick 6. Nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching baseball. And the simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. You just pick more or less on the stats of two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri, so don't miss out on the fun and don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their deposit of a first deposit of $5. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.